This is the SpinJoy HooperCast. We're back. It's episode 8.
I can't believe it. We're back. It's time to talk about. We got some mail.
Oh yeah, we actually got an email.
We've been getting emails.
We've been getting quite a few emails. Thank you. Thank you for writing to us, people.
Yeah, it's nice.
So who's been writing to us, Phoebe?
We had Cara wrote to us.
Ooh, what did she say?
She was talking about when she's listening to the HooperCasts, and she also had some requests on topics that we can talk about.
So Cara said that she's listening to us while she's driving.
Yeah.
And that's really handy because sometimes she wants to watch hula hoop videos while she's driving, but you can't do that while you're driving.
You can't.
So having us chatting
means you can still get your hoop fix.
We always need our hoop fix. What else did she want to talk about?
She was talking about flow.
Oh, I love the topic of flow. So how do you define flow for hula hoopers, Pho?
For hula hoopers, I think the easiest way for me to make people know what it feels like is to just have you experienced runner's high.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier.
True.
We talk about 2 different types of flow. We've got flow as in the sequencing of hula hoop tricks. So the nice piecing together where one trick flows or leads into the next one. And then the psychological state, which is referred to as flow state, which you just said. It's kind of like runner's high.
Yeah, it's like a sensation, it's a feeling, it's, your mood while you're hooping. You might notice a change in how you're taking things in.
A really good, upbeat, happy state.
Yeah, you feel invigorated afterwards.
Awesome. So people talk about this a lot, having trouble tapping into flow. So let's try and separate these. Let's try and separate the two. How do you have techniques for tapping into flow with your sequencing of hula hoop tricks?
Yes. Yeah, this is something I've been doing lately in classes, is getting people to write down tricks that they know and tricks that they know of, shuffling the cards, and then seeing how they come out.
Oh, a little hoop card deck.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and then
awesome.
I also found out that there's a girl who's made an actual physical deck that you can buy. So I might not have to get people to write their own.
Do you know what it's called?
Yeah, she's called Circle Blossom.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'll show you it. I'll link you to it.
Okay,
give you some.
So
we'll give you some photos.
We'll pop the link in the podcast information as well, so we can all go and buy a deck of hula hoop trick cards.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have to do some research on those because some of the tricks I've never heard of the names of them before. So I'm going to do some research. But I get people to shuffle them and myself as well if I'm feeling a little bit stale or if my muscular memory is kicking in more than my creativity, which for me is a big problem. I'll shuffle the cards, whatever order they come out in, I'm going to put that together, and that's going to be a new way for me to build different sequences that feel a little less habitual.
So kind of shake you out of your hoop rut.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how do you go when you might have a trick that, say, is, I don't know, up here in the horizontal plane, and then all of a sudden you've got to be down in the vertical plane. You got to try and figure out.
You have to get there.
Interesting transitions.
Exactly. That's part of where flow comes into it. You have to figure out a way to get from one possibly awkward transition and make it less awkward. It might just be you swing it in front and that's it. It might be you have to put another trick in between to get it from A to B.
Just hinge
it. Yeah, people keep asking me for transitions and they all end up being hinges. And they're like, but that's another hinge, Phoebe. I'm like, I know.
It's my favorite transition.
They're really good. Yeah, so I like that. You basically you're forced to figure out in that situation a way to get from A to B.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a really great idea. I'm going to try that one. My tips for tapping into flow are to kind of pull back and simplify. So usually I find that people forget about the dance element of hoop dance. And when you're so stuck in your head, all you're thinking about is trick, taking it right back to stuff that you could do while you're asleep. Hula hoop tricks that you might consider a bit boring. Maybe like hula hooping on your hand.
Simple hand spin.
A weave. A good old weave.
Yeah.
I like to call it a ninja. Waist hooping, doing those kinds of tricks that are really simple, totally in your body already, and then adding dance into them and tapping back into the music. I find that a really cool way to open up flow, just doing the repetitive tricks over and over and over again and then letting it go from there. So I find that doing stuff that your body is very familiar with helps you let go of the anxiety and get out of your head.
Yeah, like you don't have to think about it so much. I've definitely done that as well. I don't do it as much, but restrictive stuff can be really good. And that's something Cara mentioned. She watched Deanne's video, Deanne Love's video, and that was one of the things that she mentioned as well, restricting what you're doing to let the other parts of your body be able to open up and move in ways that, you know, without a hoop, you can definitely do that. You can definitely like swipe your hand up super big when you don't have a hoop on it. But as soon as we've got something in front of us, it kind of, you know, the hoop can actually close us in because it's in the way. I think doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
That's really interesting. That sounds like a really good video.
Yeah.
Let's link to that.
We will link to that.
We've just talked a little bit about flow and sequencing tricks together. So let's talk now about the psychological flow state.
Yeah.
How do you get there?
How do you get there?
This mythical state.
There's a lot of, like, there's results of flow state. Like, you can talk about you're not thinking about yourself as a person. Like, loss of ego is one of the things that they talk about. You don't have to think about how people are perceiving you. You're not worried about how you look. So if that's one of the results, if you can take everyone else out of the equation, maybe that's a way to get there as well.
I kind of think when you say that of hula hooping as like a moving meditation. So when you're just completely lost in the moment, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. In the sense that, like, that's one of the things that can happen. You don't worry about what people think of you. If you take everyone else out of the equation, maybe that's you've just closed your eyes. If there are people near you, maybe you've closed your eyes to stop you noticing that they're there. So you can really focus on the movement of the hoop hitting you. You can feel it. You are aware of how you're balancing, how your body is shifting, like you're concentrating on, like you're really focused. You can start focusing on little things first. Like maybe it's just the feeling of your feet on the ground. Maybe it's just how you're shifting your weight.
Cool.
I like really trippy shit like that.
Yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting tuning into your body. I love the fact that hula hooping is a tool to do that. It completely takes you into your body in the moment. And there's science. There's science behind flow state. So you know how to pronounce the name of the guy that...
I do.
The scientist guy.
He's the scientist guy. Is he a psychologist or a psychiatrist? I think he's a psychologist. His name is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I believe he's Hungarian. His
book Flow is what I've been reading. I'm only 3/4 of the way through it.
Cool. Yeah. So I've read I've read Creativity, which is where he starts talking about flow.
Nice.
But I think in terms of it being a psychological state, I feel like you can maybe notice a switch. Like you notice the switch in your mood if it happens while you're hooping.
So just as a really basic overview, he's done this study on different activities that help people, creative people, dancers, sports people tap into their optimal states of happiness, and they call that flow state.
Absolutely agree with what you've said, and specifically with things like sport and art and dance. I think it's really easy to find flow in those things because they're physical. Like you can find flow state in other creative pursuits like painting, and you can find it at work, even if you're just trying to find a way to solve a task. But because it's something physical and you can know when you've done something new, or you can know when something is just beyond your threshold of skill. He talks a lot about skill and challenge, the optimal level of skill and challenge. And there's a particular way those interact that can bring about your presence in the flow state.
Yeah, so I think that hula hooping is a really great way of tapping into flow state, because you may have a slight challenge at the start, say for example learning to waist hoop, then you have a success with that and you're like, okay, I couldn't waist hoop now, and all of a sudden I can, so success, I feel great. And then all of a sudden I've got another level of challenge. Okay, I'm going to try and do an off-body trick and I'm getting it, and then it's like, yes, success. So the challenges keep on increasing, and your ability to meet the challenges and then feel like you're getting into this state of achievement and attainment and still challenging yourself is part of the growth process and the stimulating your brain to enjoy the process of learning.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the tenets of being in flow state is challenging yourself in a way that's achievable. It's not beyond you, but it's definitely something that you haven't done before and that you need to work at to achieve.
Yeah. And then you get to the point where you're like, trick, 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 bam, 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 hit it, yes. And then you're like, wow, I did that whole sequence of tricks and it felt amazing. Yeah. And then you're like, whoa.
I love this one. A lot of people talk about, and so does Mihai. First name basis. He talks about loss of time. So your perception of time being drastically different if you have been in flow state.
Yes.
So I know some people have said they feel like they can see what they're doing going in slow motion. So they might be like ahead of where the trick is. They might know where it's going and they'll be able to grab it and turn it into something different. I don't experience that as much because I like to go slower when I'm flowing, or when I find myself wanting to pursue flow state. I'll actually move slower.
Oh yeah,
but
that's really interesting. What kind of tricks do you do when you're moving slowly in flow state?
I will move around more and I'll do a lot more wraps. So a lot more wraps and like testing where I can put the hoop, and it probably looks really weird and wacky and a little bit, esoteric and eccentric, but I like changing levels, and I'm trying not to do it while I'm supposed to be right in front of the microphone.
Around here, guys. She's really getting into it.
But I like to like dip down really low and like move the hoop very far away from me and pull it back in. So
that's awesome.
A lot more off body for me.
Very cool. I use I'm very on body with my flow state, and I do heaps of sustained spinning, so that's when I really get into it.
Yeah, def.
And it's pretty much the opposite of you, Phoebe. I'm like spinning around very fast. That's when I tap into flow state. And I also find that when I'm losing the hoop, or like it's falling or it's not going to plan, rather than seeing the trick ahead of me, like in advance, I'm just doing whatever's coming. So if it's falling, I'll grab it and I'll take it, and now it's somewhere else, and we just go with it. So yeah.
Yes, sustained spinning is one of the most joy activating things that you can do with a hoop, because you go fast and you can see it and everything's whirling. And
would agree.
Don't get too dizzy though.
Nah, the dizziness gets easier, I promise.
It does. I also enjoy that the things that we do to access flow for ourselves seem to be quite different. So it's, it's not going to be the same for everyone.
How do you access flow? Why don't you let us know? I'm curious.
Tell us.
People message me about this all the time. I want to know how you tap into flow if you haven't been able to. What's the problem? Like, what's the problem?
What's your issue?
That sounded a bit harsh. No. What are the roadblocks that you're coming up against when you are trying to tap into flow? Email us. I'd love to know. Or if you've got some super duper interesting techniques that do get you into flow.
I eat a really good sandwich.
What flavor?
Vegemite.
No one else is eating.
So Australian.
Yeah. Oh, Vegemite, by the way.
What about it?
Try it.
Oh,
it's fabulous.
It's a trap.
No, it's not. You don't like Vegemite?
No, but people overseas who don't experience Vegemite don't like Vegemite.
Well, I feel like you're only going to have a bad time with Vegemite if you're expecting it to be a chocolate spread. It's a savoury food, guys.
It's basically salt.
And don't spread it too thick.
Yeah, no, it's a schmear.
Just a thin
it's a
spread.
tiny little layer.
With butter on toast.
Yum.
Anyway.
Yay. Yeah.
We should get those little hotel
I've got one in my stash right now
of Vegemite and send them out to our listeners. If you want a Vegemite,
I'm not sourcing the Vegemite, Caitlin.
I'll source the Vegemite.
Okay,
if you would like a little thing of Vegemite, message me, email me.
Are you serious about this?
I don't know. If anyone wants it, I'll think about it. If I have enough requests for Vegemite, I will send out an envelope.
A custom's going to let you do that?
Why not?
This is food.
People post food.
True. But like on a large scale,
you've got
distributing.
You've got to send me. It's
my Your Vegemite dealer.
My side business.
My side business is Vegemite sampling. Add it to the list.
If I were trying to send a koala or something, that might be a...
Oh, yeah, no, you can't do that.
No. They don't like it. Customs don't like it either.
It's drastically illegal.
Okay. Anyway. Time for a Hooper Shoutout.
Time for a Hooper Shoutout, specifically flow-inspired Hooper Shoutout.
Yes. One of my favourites. It's Amanda Lee.
It's Amanda Lee!
AKA Miss Hoop-de-Doo.
Yeah, I was trying to learn one of her tricks the other day, and I really like it because it means that I can turn around twice.
What do you mean you can turn around twice?
We can turn around maybe not turn around twice, but the hoop goes in different directions. It was the Twizzelator is what she called the move.
The Twizzelator.
And there was a tutorial and it did it from multiple different angles and I liked watching it and I liked following along and I've been practicing it and it's still not quite there, but I liked it because the hoop goes in like multiple different ways.
Okay, when we get off the podcast, I'm going to go and try out the Twizzelator.
We're never getting off the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, no Twizzelator for me.
You're never leaving the booth.
But back on Amanda, Hoop-de-Doo is a fantastic hula hooper. I don't think that there's anyone out here who hasn't seen her. But if you haven't,
please look.
Go on. Where have you been?
Cast your eyes upon the Instagram of Miss Hoop-de-Doo.
Not only is she a stunning dancer, she's also a lovely, lovely individual. Very
Have you met her?
uplifting. No, I haven't met her. I wish I had. I think she's from LA, where I was very briefly. I went to the airport, so.
Does that count?
It totally counts. Everybody, okay, this is weird. I digress. Lots of dogs at the airport. I've never seen dogs at the airport before. They were all in handbags.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God, what a dream.
The biggest cliche of LA that I could have imagined. Tim Gunn was also there. From,
Celebrity.
do you know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I do. The one with the suits.
Yeah, no, he's from,
Project Runway.
Project Runway.
Yeah, he always wears a suit.
Yeah, and he's fabulous.
He is fabulous.
Anyway, he was there.
And he's so supportive. Sorry, I'm getting really off track.
He's a really lovely mentor to the Project Runway designers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Dogs in handbags, Tim Gunn,
Miss Hoop-de-doo.
LAX, no Miss Hoop-de-doo in sight. What a travesty.
Lots of positive things.
Anyway, she's lovely. And she has some fantastic hula hoop tutorials on her Instagram. Check them out.
Check them out. Yeah. At a later stage, we will probably hit you guys with some awesome online places where you can find great tutorials.
Yeah.
People have asked us.
Yeah, so let's do a call out. So if you have online resources for tutorials for hula hoops.
Hula hoops. It's the HooperCast. It's SpinJoy HooperCast.
Sorry. I can speak, I promise. For hula hoop tutorials via either Instagram, so good Instagram tutorials. Like,
Make sure they're good.
They've got to be good ones, guys. Like Hoop-de-doo. Miss Hoop-de-doo.
Miss Hoop-de-doo.
Or anything on YouTube. Great resources. You know, I don't know. Is anyone doing hula hoop tutorials on Facebook or on Twitter? In 140 characters? That would be amazing.
You can put a video on Twitter.
Okay. I'm not on Twitter.
I am.
What are you tweeting?
I often tweet about food. I think I've got multiple tweets about ice cream sandwiches.
Of course you do.
They're good.
Tweet. Send us your amazing people on Instagram and YouTube, and we're going to make a whole episode dedicated to it. And we'll make a list, and we'll go and link to everybody.
You mean I'll make a list?
Baby's going to do the hard work. I'm gonna
swan in and lay down your dulcet tones.
Excuse me, I bring a lot to the podcast.
You bring everything to the podcast.
I bring.
You brought mini pies.
I brought pies. I brought a Lamington.
Oh, I didn't eat the Lamington yet.
No, I haven't given it to you yet, but
smart.
You weren't being very nice
smart.
to me just now.
I'm always nice to you.
Well, do people know what a Lamington is? That's an Australian food.
It's just a food-based podcast. Very cool. Is it time for Hot Hoop Tracks?
I think it might be. If it's not, we're going to make it time.
It's time. We have another submission. Oh, yeah.
So I got this submission on my live video. And Jessie Fumiko, she was like, Caitlin, dance to this. And I was
obliged.
And I did. And I was pretty chuffed about it. The song is called Golden State of Mind. And it's by Tolan Shaw. Is that how you say that?
I think so.
It's a great song. I've been listening to it on repeat.
I'm pretty sure you then also made a video to it.
Yes, I did.
Did it in the live, did a video to it. It's in your bloody...
I know, I really liked the song.
It's on high rotation.
I'll put my dance video in the link.
I love a link. Mine is German Sparkle Party by the Something Experience.
We just listened to a little bit of it and it's quite funky, quite weird.
It's quite weird, it's quite great, it's quite German.
Wouldn't expect any less from Phoebe.
It's basically like how I envisage myself in song form. And there's like really awkward laughter at some points, which is maybe my favorite part. And they say German Sparkle Party a ton. Enough times.
So you found yourself in song form.
Yeah.
Well, we can just end the podcast.
Yeah, but you had one. You had a hot hoop track.
Okay, yeah. My hot hoop track is called New Rules. And it's by Dua Lipa. I like the songs that the cool kids are listening to.
Are you implying I'm not cool? Because I would maybe agree and disagree in various ways.
You are like so uncool that it's cool. That you're that kind
of
German Sparkle Party over here. Anyway,
bye. Let's leave.
You just